So when I had left off on the digital dashboard, I had kind of a rough proof of concept working on a little cell phone that was really old. I was using a Bluetooth device that only worked with Android, and most of my devices are Apple, so I said I was going to come back to it when I get a new Bluetooth device and I could try to update the baud rate and things like that. So I got the new Bluetooth hooked up. I actually upgraded from a Uno to a Mega on the Arduino so that I'd have more hardware serial. I have 3 serial ports on this one instead of 1, so I don't have to use software serial emulation. So I upgraded to a Mega, and I got the new Bluetooth device to HM10 instead of the HM05. It talks different Bluetooth protocols. It's compatible with the Apple stuff. Got all that done, and I brought it out here and tested it, and it was still really laggy. The tachometer was still really notchy, and it looked terrible and cheap, and it wouldn't suffice for a real dashboard. So I have invested far more hours than I should of my life into trying to optimize it and get it better. The code I'd started with was very efficient. It used a lot of pointers and references, and it didn't have any variables, and it was impossible to troubleshoot. So I had basically rewritten all of the code to use a bunch of variables and a bunch of print statements for debugging, and it was very easy to follow and troubleshoot and figure out what you were doing, but it created the lag. I went back to the code I'd started from and tried to get it working, and I never could quite get what I needed. First of all, it turns out that there was some logic in there to do block reads, and block reads just don't work. It's not that the guy that I started using his code didn't know how to do it, it just doesn't work. But I spent way too long figuring that out. It took some guys on the ROM Raider forum straightening me out to realize that I couldn't do a block read. I've got to do address reads. So once I'd figured that out, I went back to the code that I had that was working and tried to optimize it, get rid of all the intermediate variables, or at least make them optional so that I could optimize the code. So right now I've got it running pretty good, even with the debugging turned on. It's really smooth, so I'm pretty happy with it. I'm gonna fire it up here in just a second, and we'll make a little video of it, and you'll be able to see how it works, and hopefully I don't get an ad because I'm still on the free version of this. So let's give it a try. So as you can see, especially the graphical part, I mean, it's really smooth. There's no lag to it. And I've got all the debugging statements and variables turned on right now. So as soon as I turn those off, it should get even better. So real happy with this. This completes the CAN bus portion of it. Now I've got to start working on the real I/O portion of it. I want to wire in an oil pressure sensor, because the Subaru ECUs don't have oil pressure. I'm also going to wire up my high beam, low beam, right and left blinkers, and the check engine light all to the Arduino as real I/O, and inject those into the CAN stream so they'll show up on my dashboard. So that's phase 2, and that's what I'll be moving on to. But I've probably got 60 or 70 hours in this code over the last week. So it's a huge relief to actually have it working and working well for me.